reforms and a cautious economic micromanagement has helped Indonesia weather the 2008-2009 global financial crisis. For a while, the country managed to post healthy growth due to strong demand from China, high commodity prices, and strong domestic consumption. Currently, low global demand, trade deficit, and weak manufacturing sector are causing the country's growth to decline. Unless the banking sector can find new sources of funds, such as creating new financial products and deepening the capital market, it will be difficult for the country to finance its growth. At the same time, there is the challenge of a weakening rupiah and the threat of inflation that could impact the stability of the economy. I talked to Mirza Adityaswara, Senior Deputy Governor of Bank Indonesia, on strategies to keep the financial system stable and at the same time create growth in the economy.
Now, one of the things that we see with the coming of the new government is that the market always reacts very sensitively to sort of political upheavals and so on and so forth. And how worried are you about this recent development and the state of our currency? Surely that's not...
Actually, the currency fluctuation is not because of politics. Yeah. Of course, there is a factor of politics, but that's not the major factor behind the currency fluctuation. It's about the mega trend of US dollar strength, because US interest rate is going to increase in 2015. Nobody knows whether in the second quarter or third quarter or fourth quarter, but everybody is already anticipating US interest rate increase from currently very low 0.25%, going back to the normal level of US interest rate around 2.5, maybe 3.5% in the next 3 years. So you can imagine. So if you look, currency is not only Indonesia that weakening. Even US against Euro, US has been strengthening a lot. US against Japanese yen, US has been strengthening a lot. Against Thai baht, against Philippine peso, against South Africa currency, against Indian rupee. So I think the public should not concern too much about this. I think Professor Stiglitz mentioned about the currency should be undervalued.
Especially if we're exporting.
Yeah, so if rupiah 9,000 against US dollar, that's only create, we import more and more. We don't want to produce, and then our exporter will have problem. Rupiah 12,000 is our, we reduce our import, and then our exporter get competitiveness. Yeah, but of course we don't want unstable currency. Yeah? That's why it is very important that governments has a new government especially has to send a message and then make a policy and execute a policy that pro-economic reform, pro-investment, diversify energy will help a lot for the stability of the financial market.
One thing that Professor Stiglitz mentioned is in order to create a good inclusive growth, it's important to basically not just create a good economic climate, but focus on issues such as not being too worried too much about inflation, not being too worried too much about deficit, but actually strengthening the financial sector. In terms of reforms, what other reforms does Indonesia need in order to strengthen the financial sector?
I think again, if we analyze why our financial market is easily, into very sensitive. Yeah, that's because high dependency on the foreign. But now, can we just cut the foreign funding? Where can we get the funding for development. Yeah. Even governments now, about close to 40% of government bond is held by foreign fund managers. Yeah. Now the question is, yes, it is okay funding by the foreign, but how to manage prudently.
So that we're not always in fear of capital outflow.
Yeah. So that's why we must have other source of foreign currency, foreign exchange reserve, from tourism, from remittance from workers, amount of remittance in Philippines is much bigger compared to Indonesia. I think Indonesia now is around maybe $8 billion to $9 billion dollar. In Philippines already $12 to $14 billion.
Because they send nurses and caregivers.
Yeah, that's right.
We send domestic
It's about quality.
workers.
It's about quality, about skilled workers. And then tourism. Why Malaysia and Thailand they can have tourists come to their country, 25 million tourists a year, while in Indonesia maybe 6 to 7 million tourists a year only. That source of foreign exchange and also source of employment for Indonesia. So back to your question about spread, high spread. Actually what we want, reducing spread, but not because of the rising cost of fund, but because of the lowering lending rate. But what actually happened in Indonesia, 3 years ago, net interest margin in Indonesia for banking system was around 5.3, 5.5%. Now net interest margin of Indonesian bank around 4.2, 4.3%. Not because of the lending rate coming down, but because cost of fund going up. So
cost
again, it's about funding. So how to reduce the lending rate actually? First is inflation. Second, we must have a prudent current account deficit, prudent government budgets, and then increase supply of loans. How to increase supply of loans? Competitions. So make the banking system, they are attracted to come to the micro loans, to come to the SME loans. Before 1998, maybe only Bank Rakyat Indonesia and Bank Pasar that were in the micro loans. But now we have Bank Mandiri, CIMB, Bank Danamon, BTP, and Bank BNI, and other banks came. And that's still not enough. The competition that will make the lending rate coming down. Another examples, micro loans of one of the largest bank in Indonesia at 21%, and SME loans interest rate around 12-13%. The NPL is the same. Micro loans 3% NPL, SME loans NPL 3%. So it's not about interest rate that make the NPL. It's about the quality of the entrepreneur.